This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back to the Nafeesa Dangor Show. And if you've just joined us, we're telling you, you have to listen to this particular segment. It's all about education, inspiration, creating the support structures and making people understand this afternoon that they're not alone, irrespective of the challenges they are facing. And one of them that's here to really entice us into a better space is Sister Ayesha Seedat. Now, let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a paragon of a working single mom. Ayesha is a Joburg-based makeup artist, home chef, and entrepreneur. After experiencing a surge of interest and rising success on the local market scene, Ayesha was propelled into launching a Kriya Lifestyle, a family-run business that uses age-old techniques to create a luscious collection of spices and seasonings. But Ayesha, this afternoon, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's so nice. Thank you so much for honoring us and allowing us the space on the show this afternoon to discuss something that I think is really relevant and important.
Thank you so much for having me, Nafeesa. It's an absolute pleasure to be here again.
How have you been doing this afternoon?
You know what? I think we all are in a space that's a bit difficult to sort of cope with so much going on around us. But alhamdulillah, we've got our health. We've got our family, we've got everyone else, so we should be thankful for that. So alhamdulillah, we're here and we okay, and that's what we need to just continue doing. Just make dua.
I love your sense of spirit, because I think that's the most important thing. Being grateful already puts us in a better space, and of course a better mindset.
Absolutely. I think, it's so important, Nafeesa, to be positive about whatever situation you're in, because ultimately I've realized time passes, and regardless, you can choose to be in a positive space or a negative space. That is totally up to you. And I think as much as we would want time to go faster or we would want it to go slower, it's really not in our hands. So you just got to choose, and you've got to fight which battles you're going to fight with which sort of positivity or negativity. It's totally up to us.
That's so true. And we're here to discuss a very important topic, which is divorce. I don't know if I should say, unfortunately, in our communities, in and around us, everywhere, it's something that is occurring very often.
It is.
And I know you've gone through that particular experience as well. And this is the reason why we know that you're a role model in many directions, to be able to entice other women to say that, you know what, there's something that you can do with your life. Because I think a lot of people think post-divorce, that's it. That's the end of you.
Yeah. So it's funny, Nafeesa, I think for the last couple of years, obviously since I've put myself out there, I have had a lot of women approaching me, in the background asking me, how did I do it? Or does it ever get any easier? Does it get better? All of those things. And I think one needs to be in the right sort of, I initially thought to myself, I can't sort of give anyone advice, because my situation could be very different to what another person may be going through. What is okay for me may not be okay for the next woman. So it's we must understand and we must accept that each marriage, each relationship, and each divorce is different. There are no two divorces that are going to be similar in any way whatsoever. Another thing, that I must clarify before we even go any further is we're not here to say, at the first step, go through your divorce, get it done with. Okay, it's fine. There's still life at the end of after divorce. The idea is always to try your level best and see. No relationship works without putting in the effort and the communication that is required from both parties. And it's amazing. Funny enough, I'm going to bring up something here. So someone mentioned a series on Netflix that's currently trending, and it goes by the name of Jaman. It's actually a Kuwaiti series, but if one goes through that series and understand how much of compromise is required, and how much a woman or a man, both parties, need to put in from this. So it's continuous work. It's a continuous struggle. I don't think there's any marriage that's perfect. That being said, if you have tried everything and if you've come out on the other side, you have to understand that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed you in this situation, surely there has to be a plan that is ahead. There is something that is written for you. And indeed, I think that is for that particular reason we are told over and over again that dua has the ability to change your taqdeer, to change your life. So I firmly believe in throwing what you feel out in the universe. And when you throw it out with so much of positivity and positive energy, it's almost like you telling yourself, I deserve it. It's for me. I am demanding it. I am asking it. I deserve it more than anyone else. And it doesn't come overnight. I will be the first one to tell you it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years. For me, it took 2.5, 3 years. It took an extremely long time. But that being said, we grow stronger every day. Time doesn't stop for anyone. So I think a lot of people will think, I mean, I still have battles and struggles every day. But for me, and I've mentioned this over and over again, and I say this on my platform on a regular basis, my intention is never to come across as an influencer. I'm not an influencer in any way whatsoever. I don't want to influence anyone to do anything. However, I am just here to share what has worked for me, and I choose to share the positive sides of my life instead of negative. Because I really feel like there's so much negativity out there as it is. Another one isn't needed.
And I so agree with you, because the thing is, this is why we tapped into you this afternoon, because a lot of the times coming out of things like this is what I say. People don't ask themselves how they can grow from this and better themselves and change themselves and find themselves in a better space. It's having to hold themselves back and look into that negativity and say, well, this, and that is what has happened to me. And instead of looking at alternatives to say, okay, I've learned from this. It hasn't been a good experience, but how do I actually grow myself from here?
That's it. And I think you have to go easy on yourself. You have to understand that even a year later or 6 months later or 2 years later, even if you may think you've gone past the initial struggle, there'll still be days where you'll feel like you're not good enough, or you're not deserving enough, or what did I do with the last 2 years of my life or the last 6 months? So it's okay to step back. It's okay to say, you know what, today is one of those days. Today, I'm just going to sit there and feel sorry for myself. Today, I'm going to say, you know what, I should have been there, but I'm not here. But it's okay. I've got all the time in the world to get where I need to be. And I will get there when the time is right. And I think that's why I draw so much of my talk or my fields come from, you know, your iman and your taqwa in terms of, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said it, I will give it to you when the time is right. You may think it's not right for you at this stage. I know it. So continue to do what you're doing, which is to continue to make dua with sincere intention. It all falls into place. It most definitely falls into place.
Yes, I think it's having to take it a day at a time. I think people think that, you know, it's something like you were saying. It's not something you get over in a day, but it's how you entice yourself into a better space every single day to say, what is it that I'm going to do to try and make things better for myself? And I think also, you know, women, instead of just sitting at home like you've done, I like you've created this lifestyle for yourself where you've gotten involved in doing something unique with Kriya, and it's helped you grow in many a direction. So what we're saying is a divorce is not the end of the world, but at the same time, is also to have a look at your marriage and ask yourself, how can I save it as opposed to just letting it go?
Absolutely.
Maybe try counseling, or try something, try and figure out where the issues, the roots of the problems are coming from.
Absolutely. Communication is most crucial and most important, I think. And I know two people are perfect. When you put, I always laugh with my friends. I actually laugh with my mom, and I say to her, "Mom, it was easier for me to live with my mother-in-law than it's to live with you. She's very headstrong. She's very stubborn. I turn around before I know it. She's picked up the bottles, and I mean, we can't work in the kitchen. We clash a lot when we're working together. So if there's clashes between you as a mother and a daughter, as a mother and son, obviously you're going to put two people together that are strong and opinionated in their own way. They own both used to their way of living. And I think the times that we live in doesn't make it any easier. As women, we study, we sort of grow independent. We think to ourselves, oh, I don't need you. I can do this by myself. I'm sorry. You're not going to come and tell me what I need to be doing. And as a man, he says, well, I bring the bread to the table. I'm out the whole day. I do this. I do that. I don't need to be listening to your crap. So it's both sides. And I think it is important to understand and realize that the grass is not always greener on the other side. If I always say it's a lot of work and a lot of effort required if you walk out of a marriage, say in your 30s even. I mean, I did it. I got divorced when I was 33 years old. I started everything at the age of 33. It was almost like my 20s was just erased out of nowhere. I had, there was nothing left of the 20s, and I had to start all over again in my
Would you say, Ayesha, that it takes a lot of compromise and tolerance in a marriage? And I think the idea today is to try and make people understand that, marriages can be saved.
Absolutely.
Unless, of course, like you say, it's a very serious issue and it's not something that can be resolved, then we would say, okay, look at it. We're not saying do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wrote this up in my life.
I don't know if you'd agree with me, but looking around me from the spaces and the types of interactions I have, I think the most two important words would be tolerance and compromise.
Absolutely. Tolerance, compromise, communication. A lot of times ego comes in the way, and then we like, but he should know me by now. He should know this irks me. Well, maybe he doesn't, or maybe she doesn't. And maybe we're all different in how we show our emotions. A lot of the questions that I got asked, on my live when I did it last week was, why do ex-in-laws or husbands behave in a manner where they use children as pawns? And for me personally, is the way I look at it is, for them, that's the only way where they know they can hurt you the most. So obviously that's their way of showing anger. That's their way of showing hurt. That's their way of showing something else. So one needs to understand that just as you going through emotions and you going through, the hurt, the other party is also going through the same thing. So it's important to sort of look at everything, and it's not an easy thing to go through. I have to say it myself. It's not an easy thing to go through. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made a woman for a reason from the side of a ribcage of a man, because it is needed, it is necessary. She is dependent on a man for a lot of reasons. As independent as we will go, as the time grows, my late daddy always used to say, times don't change, people change. And as we change, right? As we change and we grow independent and we grow stronger, and we have this pride and ego that comes into us, and we say, oh, it's fine, I'll just walk out of here and I'll build it. Yes, it can be done, but that should be the last resort. It took me, I was married for 11 years, and it took me a really, really long time to finally take the step and finally take the courage and have the courage to walk away. So it is imperative that one must try. That being said, sometimes I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, is often you just know it's not going to work out. That's your gut feel, and that's what your gut feel tells you. And I think your gut feel is never wrong, so you got to stick with that gut feel. So try, give it a chance, give it another chance. But if it's not going to work, then you must know that it's no point in wasting 10 years of your life or another 5 years of your life where you're still going to be in the same position. Then it's easier for you to walk away at that time and start doing whatever it is that you need to do, so that the 10-year-older you can thank you and tell you, you know what, I'm glad you did it when you did it, so you're in a better space now.
What was your coping mechanism? Because I think a lot of people are looking for that. They're looking for a way to cope with this, those that are going through divorces and, of course, couldn't save their marriages due to many reasons. What sort of coping mechanisms did you have that maybe they could look at to try and deal with it?
If I have to be utterly honest with you, Nafeesa, it has to be the fact that it was my children were looking at me every single day, and I needed to be strong for them. The decision that I took because I wanted to do it, but I didn't want them paying the price. So, it was crucial for me, because one of the main reasons why I walked away why I did what I did was I felt it was better for my children to see two sets of parents that were happier instead of a set of parents that were together but were continuously fighting. So I didn't want my children growing up in an environment that was toxic. And if I continued to be negative, and if I continued to be down in that space of mind where I was constantly questioning what was going to happen, how was I going to make it work, whether it was going to work or not, which ultimately I have no control over. If it's meant to work, it will work. If it's not meant to work, it won't work. So I don't have a control over it, but I do have control over how I feel and what my children see, and whether it's a toxic environment or whether it's a happy environment for them. So I'll give you an example. Just a couple of minutes before I came on the show, I had a few things on my mind. We were sitting and having lunch. My oldest one came to sit next to me, and he tried to initiate a conversation. He's a teenager. So, 99% of the time he's not available to me. It's the other way around. But when he came to sit with me and I was preoccupied, he kept nudging me, and but where are you? What's going on? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? So children are very much in tune. They may not be around for you, but they expect you to be there for them. So I think it is your responsibility as a parent to be there for your child, for your children. And that doesn't mean only financially. That doesn't mean only time-wise. Even emotionally, they can sense when you're there and when you're not there. And that is something that for me is extremely crucial when it comes to my relationship with my children.
I think that's such an important point that you brought forward, because I think a lot of the times you're in that situation and it's you and the other person, but not realizing that there are others around you that are getting affected by the whole situation anyway. And that is why I'm saying it's good to try and solve those marriages and find the necessary solutions. Look, divorce is something, as I said, that you're going to look at where a situation is so serious that unfortunately, like in your case, it was something that couldn't be avoided. But having said that, what we want to encourage people to do is tell themselves that, like you were saying earlier, is looking at the positivity in themselves and trying to build themselves up post the situation.
Yeah. So I think find inspiration around you, find inspiration in the fact that there's always something that you can do. I think that's so important. If I look at both my businesses that I have started, even this particular thing that, in terms of where I've opened up the platform for women to come in and be able to come and talk about it, it's all based on something that I feel from my heart inside. Makeup is something that was a passion of mine for years. Spices, I think I brought this up when we were having our discussion the first time when I came on the show, to say there are millions of people that are doing spices. So why me? What was so different about Kriya? But the thing is, you have to do whatever you need to do wholeheartedly and with the right sort of passion, because when you do that, it comes through, it shines through in everything that you're going to do. So alhamdulillah, I'm fortunate that I've been able to do that with my businesses. Even I'm so humbled that we're sitting and discussing this today, because a year ago I don't think I had the courage to sit and talk about it. So allow yourself that time, be kind and generous towards yourself before anything else, and say, you know what, it's okay, I need to give myself a break, because if I'm not going to give myself a break, there's no one in this world that will be able to give you a break. If you don't feel deserving of your own self, you can't expect someone else to feel the same towards you.
That is so true. You couldn't have said it better. And I was watching last night your first episode, I'll call it that, on Instagram. And it's so nice to see how many women are actually reaching out to you, asking those questions and having to try to find a way to cope with the situations they're in. And there were that many different questions. So it goes to show that each one is having a different challenge. And of course, there are many different forms of divorce as such.
Absolutely. And also, I think, Nafeesa, a lot of people don't realize, and I brought this up in my talk, also in the live that I did, is initially when I went through the divorce, and it was extremely ugly. It was ugly, and it was like, I would call, he wouldn't answer. If he had to say something, I would be ugly. But that being said, somewhere along the line, a shift happened, and where things obviously got a whole lot better. And today we speak as if we are really good friends. And a very close friend of mine said, when my oldest son graduated from primary school and his dad was there, and we sat on the same table amongst all our other friends, the parents and whatever. And, we were there, we appreciated we both enjoyed his success, him going up to the stage. And at that point, a friend of mine, a really close friend of mine, said something which hit so hard home, to say, you do not want your child to be in that position when he gets married, that he needs to decide whether his mother is going to attend the wedding or his father is going to attend the wedding, whether he's going to upset his mother by inviting his father, or upset his father by inviting his mother. So I think whatever the differences are between you and your partner, let us not get the children involved in it and ask them to sort of take sides. Or I always say, it's so stupid, because if I had done that in the initial stages of my divorce, when we were fighting a lot, and if I had to tell my kids, oh, your father is horrible, or he's this, or he's that, or this is what he's doing to me, 2 years later, when things have simmered down and when they've calmed down, imagine now me sitting and talking with him, or him coming to fetch the kids, or we discussing something. And my boys will look at me to say, but what is wrong with this woman? There was now a year ago, she couldn't stand this man. She had so much ugliness towards him. And now she goes on as if it's all normal. So I think children are very in tune to what you say, and they see for themselves. You do not need to teach them anything. They growing up, as they see what is going on around them, they feel it, they notice it, they may not say it, and they're very clever to take advantage of the situation as well, to use one against the other. So you don't ever want to be in that situation where you put yourself in that situation where you're not giving into your child's whims, and he goes to the father or to the mother and says, you know what, she's not letting me do it, you're a better parent, you need to do that. So I think it's all those things that you have to be open-minded and broad-minded about it. And Nafeesa, I've learned one thing in the last 2 years is to forgive, not for anyone else, but for your peace of mind and for your sanity.
Yes. So I agree with you. I think it's having, once you hold on to that, it's literally holding on to baggage. And that baggage is not going to grow you. It's like dragging something heavy along all the time, permanently.
Absolutely. So be happy and let it go for yourself. Not for him, not for your children, not for your parent, not for anybody else, but for yourself, so that you owe it to yourself to be just free from all this so you can move on and, like you say, to grow.
Yeah. What message would you like to leave our listeners with this afternoon?
I would just say, you know what, like I said again, I'm not insensitive to, I've in the last week, 2 weeks, I've heard so many stories about, I've had so many women messaging me and telling me what they're going through. And it's rough out there, if I can just put it in that way. So I would just say, have faith, have yaqeen that if he has placed you in this position, he will take you out of it. And just try and remain positive, even if it's 5 days out of 50 days, it's a step towards something better.
That is so true. We want to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I think you're doing a phenomenal job, besides Kriya, with actually taking the selflessness of yours and taking it and putting it onto this Instagram little, I should say, episodes, as I said when I started, because I've watched number 1 and I intend watching number 2 and 3 as well. But I think it's absolutely phenomenal. You've now created a platform and a stage, and of course a support structure for women to be able to understand that they're not alone, and then there's ways for them to deal with the situations they're in. So we want to commend you on that.
Jazakallah so much, Nafeesa. Thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor to be here again and to chat with you. And all I can say is, the only thing we can do is just pass on hope. Sometimes when I was going through my stuff, it didn't matter if someone did something or not, but that few words of kindness and hope that comes through gives you the strength to move on and to say, you know what, perhaps it's possible because someone else has done it, so I can also do it. And sometimes that's all we need to do, and it doesn't take anything away from you. It really doesn't. All you're doing is giving someone that little bit of hope to say, you know what, just persevere, carry on. It does, and nothing good lasts for long, nothing bad lasts for long. So you've just got to go through the motions and come out of it on the other side. And inshallah, it's always better and stronger on the other side.
Thank you so much. You've definitely given us some form of hope in many directions for all those women that have been listening to us this afternoon. And I'm sure they're definitely going to be reaching out to you, because as I was watching, those messages wouldn't stop coming in. So a job well done. Keep going with it. It's so nice to see you helping reach out to people with the platform that you're on. And that's what it's about. These platforms that we have, myself and you, is used for a purpose. There's no such a thing as that fame game. It's used to be able to empower women, upskill them, and help people by educating them and making them understand that they're not the only one in the situations, that there are support structures to help them get through these challenges. Jazakallah so much.
Ameen. Jazakallah so much for having me, Nafeesa. We'll chat again.
And you take care. We wish you all the best and do stay safe.
Jazakallah so much. You also, right? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. That is Sister Ayesha Seedat talking to us about coping mechanisms and the type of support structures she has been creating on Instagram as far as divorce is concerned. And as you know, she had gone through it herself. So through those experiences, she's using it to create that platform to reach out. We're going to go for a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be back in a bit.